Welcome through Hooch Through History, the historical fiction edition. I'm here in San Antonio in the Modernist bar with my friend, Christine Trent. I'm Vanitha Sankaran, and we are drinking drinks today made by Olaf Harmel. Welcome. Today, we'll be looking at a book called The Ballad of Black Tom, written by Victor LaValle. And this is a really interesting book. It takes place in Harlem and during the jazz era, and it's Lovecraftian historical fiction, but from the Black perspective.
So Lovecraftian, so that we all know, isn't that like aliens in a horror setting? Isn't that what that is?
Totally. And it's really interesting because LaValle in this book has taken Lovecraft horror, which is an exploration of the human condition with exploring like the sense of dread of, why are we here, sort of existentialism, but also with, maybe aliens thrown in, definitely a bit of the occult, weird secrets. It's its own genre, named after H.P. Lovecraft. And in this book, LaValle uses the character of Charles Thomas Tester, Tom, in other words, to look at how his experience as a black man is heightened by his sense at being different than everyone, magical in a sense. So I'd like to read a little bit from this, and I'll give you a little bit of more perspective here. So in The Ballad of Black Tom, Tom hustles to put food on the table for himself and his father. They're struggling to keep a roof over their head. Tom knows about magic and music and the curse that's written on his skin, not the blackness of his skin, but this curse that attracts the eyes of wealthy people and also cops. So we're introduced to this man who is trying to keep his family safe, but also he knows that there is a terror coming to town. It's a storm that's building up, and that might swallow the whole world, starting with his hometown of Brooklyn. And so he calls on the old ones, this horror that's best left asleep, but can solve the problem if they don't take control of everything. So the book starts out with the words, "People who move to New York always make the same mistake. They don't see it. They look for magic, and nothing will convince them it isn't there." Tom makes his living off of this mistake that people have, this idea that there is magic around. He makes use of that to make his living. He's not a con man selling stage tricks, but he's somebody who knows that there are magicians out there looking for pieces of magic that he has access to. But he doesn't want it to go into the wrong hands. So he will take a book, let's say a magical tome of eldritch lore, and he will tear the pages one out after the other, and he'll sell them to different sorcerers. They know they have something potent in their hands, but they don't have the whole thing. Problem is, they could all put it together. And so when we start out this book, we have this man living a dual life. He's got his father and his job. He is a black man, in his own words, a Negro who's forgotten his place. But then he also has this magical world that he's in charge. He's powerful there. And so it's a really, really interesting book. And there aren't any cocktails in the book, but one of the things that Lovecraft liked to do was to seed his books with recipes for cocktails that kind of paid side-eyed homage to a particular era and had an element of weirdness to it. And so in all of the reviews that I've read of The Ballad of Black Tom, they say drink it with a Harlem cocktail.
And so that must be what we have here.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely looking drink, and I can't wait to hear what's in it.
Next drink is called the Harlem Cocktail. It's also going to be shaken. It's a gin cocktail. So we're going to begin with a shot of gin, 1.5 ounces. I'm going to use a little bit of pineapple juice in this one. About 3/4 ounce. We're going to enhance that pineapple juice with a little bit of maraschino liqueur. Very important ingredient. A little squeeze of lemon. dashes of Angostura bitters. And it is shaken. Served with fresh pineapple. A really nice wedge in there. Thing of beauty. Harlem Cocktail.
So when I looked into the history, I found a similar drink that the British drank. They called it the fancy brandy cocktail. And it was morphed into the East India cocktail, which was had by the colonial overlords in the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s. And so this drink, the East India cocktail, has a base of brandy. And that's, its main difference.
All right, the next cocktail is called the East India cocktail. This one will be stirred. It is a combination of brandy and curacao and pineapple. So, begin with a mixing glass. I'm going to start with 2 ounces of brandy. Maybe about a ½ ounce of curacao. This one is brandy based. And a little more. A little bit of pineapple juice once again. At least a ½ ounce. And bitters. Angostura bitters. 3 dashes. Usually garnished with a maraschino cherry. There you go. East India cocktail.
The British are the common denominator between these two drinks if you look at the history. So maybe we should check that.
I think we should, and they look very different from one another, and of course we're talking about 2 completely different eras and different places on the planet, so these should be 2 completely different experiences.
All right.
Why don't we try the Harlem first?
Okay.
I like the pineapple to it. It's a very mild drink.
It is a mild drink, yeah.
All right, let's try the East India.
Something you could sip on as you read.
Yes, definitely a good sipping drink.
This reminds me of being in India. It's very tropical.
Okay. Yes, indeed, very tropical and much stronger than the Harlem drink.
I don't know what they're trying to say about the different places, but the cool part about these cocktails, and you'll see a lot of them in anything that's British inspired, is they'll take a certain style of drink and they'll add in whatever's local to the area. So as I was sipping this, I was trying to think of what this book would look like if it took place in India, maybe, or maybe in London instead of in Harlem, New York.
And at home, think about that yourself. Try thinking about these drinks, make them yourself, and then think about maybe where you're from or a place you have visited before and have loved or a place you'd like to visit, and make modifications to the drink and make it your own. If you do so, post it to the social wall and let us know what you think. Thanks for joining us.
Don't forget to add the horror.
And don't forget to add the horror, right? Till next time.